You're listening to Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official podcast of Lingerie Fighting Championships. And now, here's your host, Michael Larkin.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is LFC Prospect, the new one onto the scene, a newcomer to the LFC auspices, the one, the only, Miss Molly Jane. How are you, Molly?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. First and foremost, folks, I got to say, if you want to be on a tear, we're going to promote the social media here, folks. So if you are not following Molly Jane on the Twitter front, then what the heck you doing? Because she does a lot of great work. We'll get into modeling and cam modeling here in today's forum as well. But God dang it, woman, if you're going to go after people, Jenny Wholesome, who is one of the fellow LFC prospects, who you'll see at LFC 37.5 on November 17th on LFCfights.com. Cheap plug, but also at the same time, Angelica, the Italian knockout Cole, session girl. She made her debut at LFC 36 against Audrey, the Sidewinder Shakti. 1-0 is Angelica Cole. You're going after all of them. You're looking to make your way up the rankings, and you're just like, hey, bust it. I'm here. This is me.
Exactly. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere, so get ready.
I love the confidence and I love the enthusiasm that goes into it because, folks, if you look at LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships, it's a little bit of MMA, it's a little bit of wrestling, and it's a little bit of clothing. So we'll start it off here because what I love about this brand and what I love about LFC as a whole, there's so many amazing and beautiful women such as yourself who really just go out there and showcase their internal and external beauty, their beauty, strength, and dominance, as the show is aproposly named. But also at the same time, what's cool about it is the confidence, the swag, the style, the finesse. There's everything that goes into the performance of being the best representation of your presentation. So we'll start off with the style, the finesse, and everything from the moment you walk out of that curtain to the ring. It's making every moment count. So I got to ask you, the Ellen Lingerie, Molly Jane, vibe in it, external beauty, voluptuosity factor. What is some of your favorite lingerie, man, that you like to wear? Because the style and the finesse goes with everything here in Lingerie Fighting Championships.
Well, I mean, you can see me in a lot of the lingerie that I like to wear on my Twitter. Just saying. But honestly, I love anything costume themed. I love to dress up. I love to just be somebody else and feel sexy in all different ways. I want to be able to look good in everything. And I think that confidence is also huge when it comes to being a fighter. Because if you don't have any confidence to back yourself up, you're screwed.
This is true. And what I also like about it too is, as well, it's not just feeling good and looking good, but it's also being good within one's spirit. And I've always said this about the LFC brand. I mean, people will say what they will, but I mean, if you equate it to what we had back in the day with the LFL, the Lingerie Football League, it's badass women looking good and taking names and football. And I mean, one of the alumni is one Danielle Monet, who would go on to be Summer Rae and the WWE. So, I mean, we see a lot of great alumni coming from so many different aspects and walks of life. And I mean, with a little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, who doesn't love some wrestling? Who doesn't love MMA? Two of the greatest combative natures. There's boxing elements. Yep. That's the thing. Like, wrestling is one of those things that really brings a lot of people together. And now let's talk about it here because I'm a WWE guy. I've always been WWE. Okay, perfect. So it's funny that we're going to talk about this because I've always said this, but I don't think I've ever said it on this show. Like, my first introduction to WWE was the Ruthless Aggression era, like right after the Attitude Era. Like, John Cena comes in, Randy Orton.
Oh, I was before you.
Okay, all right. See, I caught up later on. So what was your first memory of WWE?
Oh God, this was in the 90s. 1997 I started watching. Actually, it's because of my best friend's brother.
Okay.
Her little brother was obsessed with it back when it was the WWF, back when, you know, it was Undertaker, Stone Cold, all those great guys, Kurt Angle. I think even Hulk Hogan was still wrestling at this point. That's how far back I can go. But for me, I actually fell in love with the Hardy Boys. I loved everything about them, their style, just their energy, their vibe, their whole perseverance, everything. I was just like in awe, and I was like in love with Jeff Hardy for half of my life. But just from the athletic standpoint of it, the things that they were capable of doing, I couldn't imagine doing my entire life. I could never imagine flipping off of a 6-foot ladder and slamming my body into another human being. But now I can. But growing up, I just thought it was the coolest thing, and I thought they were like so amazing, and there was just something so awesome about it. Like, who the fuck doesn't want to watch somebody getting thrown into a table?
Well, that's the thing, and I think wrestling is one of the greatest crafts because there's so much different variety of it, from lucha libre, from the high octane aerial assault to the power game and everything. And I'm a big Jeff Hardy fan too. My first ever memory of Jeff Hardy, and I'll take people back with this, him and the Undertaker for the Undisputed Championship in the ladder match from July of 2002. Like, that matchup, the story, it might have been like a few weeks that they did the build, but it's probably one of the most incredible, underrated ladder matches of Jeff Hardy's career. And the Hardy Boys are still kicking it, man. Like, they're an AEW.
I don't know how.
I know, right?
You know, I honestly feel like some people just need to quit at some point, and they're at that point.
Oh my God. Well, I think Matt's so close to 50 and Jeff is like in his mid to late 40s. Like, they're there, but
they're up there. I'm not saying that they're doing horrible or anything. I just think it's time. They're going into like the Hulk Hogan territory where it's like, you know that they shouldn't be there anymore, but you're letting them be there because they're an icon.
yeah, I like that analogy, because that's like when people talk about, I think he was like 53, early 50s when Hulk Hogan came back to WWE and he won the undisputed title from Triple H. Like, that kind of vibe. I get you. I totally understand.
What? And when are you going to see him? Now he's coming back full time? Get the hell. No, he's not. He's going to break his leg or his hip within the next month and not be able to fight for the title for the next 6 months. We're not going to see him for 2 years, and that's going to be when he retires.
Right. It reminds me like what they're doing with it's so hard to not call him Edge anymore, but Adam Copeland in AEW. And I'm like, this dude has come back from neck surgery, which is awesome. He's back in the ring. But I'm like, bruh, like, like, you're 50. Like, why do you want to continue to do it every week? You had a good thing going where you were like 3 months and then you come back, like a special attraction. But I'm like, nah, he wants to do it every week. And I can respect it because he wants to be a Christian. But I'm like, bruh, like, why do this every week?
Yeah, like, you're going to kill yourself before you can even get to the point of retiring.
I mean, but that's like the ultimate thrill ride. And what I love about it too as well, like I always loved what wrestling and MMA, the combination between the two, like it gave us the Ronda Rouseys, it gave us the Ken Shamrocks, the Dan Severns, like the Tank Abbotts. Like, MMA and wrestling always had that influx, and I just love seeing what they're doing now and just how everything has really come full circle from the evolution of it from like 98 onward, you know?
Yeah, it's actually crazy because I never really knew wrestling was staged until I got older, and that's when I kind of stopped watching it. But it's when I found MMA that I was like, wait a minute, hold up. So that's like the real stuff. So that's actually people getting hurt. I want to do that. And from that point on, I started looking more into MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and things like that. And I was dating somebody at the time, and he got me into it, and I started going with him every week, and I really fell in love with it for a while. And then I chose to do other things in life and, go on the normal life's path. And I stopped doing it. And then I just decided one day, I was like, you know what? I need to get on the mat again. I need to go roll. Like, I need to get some anger out. It's been really hard lately, and I just want to train again. And that's what I've been doing. And honestly, having an opportunity like this for the LFC, it's like a dream that I never thought would come true. It's a dream I had, but not one that was, I thought, ever attainable. So I'm still kind of in a place of shock right now. And that's why I'm trying to just get myself out there, and again, I'm poking the bear. I'm trying to start at the top so I can start out at the top, honestly.
I admire the passion. I admire your hunger. And I mean, I think it's like you get the itch, man. You know what I'm saying? You're jonesing. You want to get back into that, that mindset of rolling around and getting into the jiu-jitsu vibe. It's also very therapeutic and cathartic and like really just a nice little release. And I mean, if you're also telling a story with whoever opponent that you may face, it's something that goes into it. It's safe and spectacular. It's evoking emotions and eliciting reaction. That's the beauty of the entertainment business, man. And I think once you get in there, I know you'll do well. I can tell just by hearing that, and the overall cadence in your voice that you're ready to rip ass and take some names, so to speak.
I am so ready. I have nothing against anybody personally. Honestly, I want everybody to be my best friend, no joke. But at the same time, when we're in the ring, it's different. We're not friends. We're opponents.
I love it. No, I love that too as well, because it reminds me of, y'all just want to go out, maybe have some ice cream afterwards. But hey, once we get in that ring, it's on. Shit's on. Shit's ready to go.
Exactly. We're not friends anymore. I'm going to look at you like you just tried to steal my man. And that's not okay.
I'm having flashbacks to high school right now because
thank you.
That's literally what it is. No, and it's so funny because I remember this very vividly, like my senior year. It's like, and I'll paint this picture for everybody, and Molly can attest to this. It's like when you're in high school, you're coming out of the lunchroom, and then all of a sudden the bathroom's like over here, and then there's like two chicks like fighting, having a cat fight coming out the bathroom. It starts in the bathroom, makes its way to the hallway, and you're all encompassed in it. You're all influxed. You can't get away from it. That's exactly what that is.
Oh my God. Everybody surrounds you, and there's just a circle. I mean, it ends up being like a human ring, honestly. And then security barges their way in. They're like, all right, separate.
Yes.
I've grown too. So.
I like it, but no, that's legit what it was. And I mean, that's the type of vibe you have to go into it. It's that killer instinct, but also at that same time, you need to have a lot of that. And I mean, that's what really encompasses LFC. I mean, beautiful women kicking ass, taking names, and looking good in the process. So, I mean, you've seen a lot of the stuff. If you look at the LFC events, folks, from Las Vegas, from Sturgis, from everything that goes into LFC, it's a broad spectrum. And if you're new to it, then what the heck you doing? You may be living under a rock, but you should check out the LFC product. I mean, this goes back to like the wrestling with you and I here, because we're both passionate wrestling fans. And this is what comes over me, because a lot of people don't even realize it. Like Las Vegas has a great independent wrestling scene. So the LFC 35 and LFC 36 events that I had a chance to ring announce, and everybody got to see new talent, they were in FSW, Las Vegas, Nevada. So for those who are not familiar with future stars of wrestling, a lot of the stars that have been in Impact and WWE now, like Karrion Kross, LA Knight, who's red hot right now, Chris Bay, who's in Impact, Zoe Starks, who's on Raw, like a lot of people came through that school. And it's just great to be around like that type of environment where people like that who have made their way onto TV as well, like the importance and the overall significance of the independence, but also at the same time, having the right school, whether it be MMA, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and learning the right way, that goes a long way too.
Absolutely. Because if you don't respect it, if you don't respect the art of it, then honestly, I feel like you're not a good fighter. At end of the day, you cannot be a good fighter if you can't truly embrace the sport.
Right. And that's the thing that also gets me too. And I love, like I said, the sex appeal with Lingerie Fighting Championship. But if you use that operative word, folks, lingerie, people looking at you like, oh, they're just rolling around their lingerie. No, like take a fucking bump. And I say that bluntly, take a fucking bump, go to the fucking mat. It don't feel good. It's plywood. It's not landed on a fluffy pillow. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Where your head,
It's not like your trampoline in the backyard when you're 15 either. You know, it's like you're hitting hard stuff. And your body has to get used to it. And my body's getting used to it slowly, but I am pushing it. I'm so ready to do this. I am so ready to just put myself out there and prove who I am and how strong I am, and that nothing's going to take me down.
Oh, of course, but I think with you as well as the physical side of things, and we mentioned the sexy side of things, again, folks, Molly Jane on Twitter is a hell of a follow because you got the cam modeling side of things, you got the modeling, you got the loyal fans. It's another way to accumulate money, but it's also a way to put out great content creation. And for those who have not checked it out, man, you do a lot of great work. You show a lot of beautiful imagery, and that's another way of getting yourself out there. And because body confidence is so huge in LFC and just in general, you're putting yourself out there, man, and it really does show with your imagery.
Oh my gosh. You know, I am a very shy individual, and putting yourself out there like that, it's really invigorating. It's nerve-wracking. I mean, you don't know what people are going to say or how people are going to react, but at the end of the day, it's beautiful, and you can make it a form of art, or you can make it something that's ugly. That's how you look at it. And yes, I used it as a way to make some money. So what? I look good, and you know what? If I can make a buck off of it, fuck it. I'm going to while I still can.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, well, that's also in today's normality. I mean, ever since COVID happened, everybody talks about OnlyFans, many vids, and so many platforms like that. I mean, it helps a lot of people. I mean, if you're staying home and finding ways to, grow your content, grow your community, because that's really what it is. And I mean, everything is defined as so more towards the adult entertainment route. But I'm like, you could do OnlyFans with cosplaying. You could do OnlyFans in different variety. It doesn't always have to be sexualized, but also at the same time, number one, sex sells, but also number two, it's engagement, man, and you need that engagement to really help yourself grow and adapt.
Absolutely. And oh man, I have put myself out there a lot now on Twitter, and that's not something I've ever done. So this is a new confidence that I'm finding, and it's honestly going into the LFC and doing this and being like, all right, I'm ready to get out there, is like what I've been waiting for. Like, this is what I've needed. I've struggled with my mental health for a long time. My personal issues, being a domestic violence survivor, and then losing my mom to COVID, and just one thing after another. I've been beat down a lot. And so for me to even want to get out there and be in a ring, let alone in lingerie, I think it's just a personal fulfilling goal. And also, it's fun. Like, it's fun. It's truly fun. If you've never beat the shit out of somebody, I'm sorry, you've never lived.
I like the bluntness and honesty, and I can attest to that. Now, it's so funny, like, and I'll say this, I mean, this kid and I are cool now, but I won't mention any names. Like, I remember, like, the only time I remember, like, really getting, like, ISS as a kid, so I was in 6th grade, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think for those that know me, and I think you could telling me, I'm not an angry person. I'm this. I'm never this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, like, as a 12-year-old, when a kid takes your notebook, and they're just like trying to like have fun with it, and it's like, all right, the fun is over. You know what I'm saying? Ha ha, you got your laugh. I remember grabbing him from behind, and we almost like tackled. It's almost like I put him in like a choke, but there was a desk behind me, and we went back into it, and I was not legit trying to do that, but like I took him down. And here's the thing about me, like, I'm the type of person, now mind you, he did deserve it because he was being a douche. We'll put it bluntly here, but also at the same time, I'm also thinking as my mindset of like, why am I hurting this person? Like, why did it have to get to this? You know what I'm saying? But sometimes shit happens, folks. But I mean,
that voice, just shh.
Yep.
It's okay. They deserve it.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. You're correct on that. But it's so interesting. But yeah, if you've not gotten physical with somebody, then what are you doing? Because it's very invigorating, but also it's not only standing up for yourself, but it's just that freeness and just that overall like roar. Sometimes you got to get that growl, that roar out you, you know?
Exactly. And honestly, doing it in a healthier way, like doing it in the LFC or going
Right.
to a gym and, or a dojo, whatever. That's the way to go about it instead of becoming a criminal and just going around and beating the shit out of, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that you walk into.
Mhm.
But that's also why you got to pick and choose your battles too.
Agreed. And I mean, like you mentioned earlier about mental health there, like I was in a place not too long ago, folks. I've been very blunt and honest where I was very suicidal and not in a good place. But I think for me, I went the spiritual route and I also just like went towards like, okay, where God has a plan for all of us. Why am I in this state when I can be looking at it like this? I think you rationalize and you take accountability for your actions. And I think what's also great about it too, as well, is I think as a person, we grow. We all make mistakes. Stuff happens. Or if you're in a domestic abuse and relationship, it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of strength to get out of it. And I'm happy to see you out of it and you're at a good place. But there's a lot of growing. There's a lot of trials and tribulations. But I have to say the journeys we're taking. And here we are,
Oh, yeah. And I also feel like, not for nothing, if I could handle getting the shit kicked out of me by my ex,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I can handle, getting beat up by another woman.
Okay, fair enough.
And down. Honestly. Like, I can take a hit. I've been thrown through a wall. I can fucking take a hit.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So you're just going to be like, oh, by the way, I got thrown through a wall. Wow. First of all, if there's any amount of toughness and if you're just going to be thrown through a wall, wow. First of all, wow. I applaud that. And I give you kudos being thrown through a wall when you're that into like a physical altercation, being thrown through a wall. Okay.
Yeah.
You've topped every story that I have heard on this podcast. Thrown through a wall. First of all, if you don't want to go into too much details, but that's fine. How does that happen?
Okay. So, like I said, I'm a domestic violence survivor.
Okay.
Obviously that's not something to joke about, but I can joke about my experiences that I went through because I came out stronger from them. Mm-hmm. I survived that, and I'd rather joke about it than sit here and sulk and, oh, poor me. I was beat up and everything like that. And yeah, I was. I got the shit kicked out of me. I got thrown through a motherfucking wall. And this is how. My wonderful ex-husband decided to go missing for days, come back out of nowhere, and try to take all of my money. I was the only one working. And we had 2 small children at the time and 1 vehicle, and he was supposed to be with them. And so yeah, I couldn't take it anymore. I just had it. I was like, you know what, I need to fucking grow a pair, or I'm not going to be able to take care of my kids anymore because he's going to kill me. So I grew a pair, and I grew a pair really quick. And I stood up for myself. And, let's just say wasn't the smartest idea that I've ever had because, he took me and threw me across the kitchen, and he threw me through the wall. So, but, yeah, no, I mean, the damage I took was similar to that of a car accident. But now I can laugh about it because now if I get thrown through the mat, that ain't gonna fucking faze me. If I get thrown through a table, forget about it. I would love it. Bring it. Like, I want to see what you can do. Because I promise you I'm going to get back up every time.
First of all, thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people can attest of getting out of said relationship. But number 2, I got to say, I admire the courage and just you getting that intestinal fortitude and just getting out and just taking everything and making yourself a better person, man. I really do admire the woman that I'm speaking with today, and just I you're welcome. But no, that it takes a lot, man. And I think when you've been gone through pillar to post, so to speak, I mean, there's nothing you can't do. And I think a lot of people can see this show for what it is, of just seeing a lot of amazing women that want to compete, that want to just not only fuck shit up for the fun of it, like you mentioned the operative word fun, but it takes a lot to get into this. And I think you are going to continue to shine in what you do. And I look forward to seeing what you do in LFC, Miss Molly Jane.
And plus, honestly, thank you very much. But who doesn't want to see hot women fighting or touching each other?
I think Usher sang it beautifully once. He's a freak for some sexy lingerie. For those that remember that.
Exactly. So, if you can watch it for football, why wouldn't you want to see us really getting in there?
You see, you mentioned the foot. I know you mentioned the football too, and you have me smiling to that because I remember all right, so 2010, I was my senior year of high school, right? So I remember a lot of those games being on MTV2 over the weekend, folks.
Yep.
Watching some. Yeah, okay. All right, yes. MTV2 weekend, baby. Get you on that LFL vibes. Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I watched it a few times. I did. I love seeing strong women kick ass. I mean, that's something that I've always looked up to from the time that I was little. I mean, going back to the WWE with Trish Stratus and another one was Lita. Mm-hmm. Those two women, honestly, they really inspired me growing up. Throughout 10 years of my life, I looked up to both of them. And now actually Trish Stratus follows me on Twitter, which I can't even. But
wow. That's cool.
Yeah, no, that's like a dream come true too. It's awesome. So, God, anyway, I got distracted.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I can add on to that by saying, with Trish Stratus, for those who saw her match with Becky Lynch at Extreme Rules in the cage match, I'm going to say great match, number one, but number two, this is a 47-year-old woman who looks amazing.
And she's been doing yoga.
Yes.
Good from yoga.
She's got her own yoga, Stratisfaction Yoga, man.
I know. I love that woman. I mean, she's just done so much for the female community and just for female sexuality. She made it okay to be sexy without being nasty.
Right. I mean, this is a woman who was a fitness model before she came into the WWE. And I mean, she was very elegant and sexy, but she can also kick your ass. I will say this about Trish. Once you started getting around 02, 03, and then the Trish and Lita feud popped off really in 04 where they main evented Raw. That's the pinnacle right there of Trish. Even onward and upward. She's still rightful Hall of Famer, but she still kicks ass. And you knew when she was coming back this run, didn't phone it in, worked her ass off, and gave us a lot of great matches.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And going back to Trish and Lita, oh, my God, that brings back so many memories. That's so many memories because I loved both of them, and seeing them fight would break my heart as a girl. I'd be like, no, you're best friends. Don't do that. Don't do that to each other. I would get so upset about it, but they would put on really good matches. And they'd kick the shit out of each other.
I think for me, watching, we mentioned the main event of Raw with Lita and Trish, and I mean, when they first came in, when TNA, Test and Albert and Trish were going against the Hardy Boys, and I mean, Trish, Lita, and Jazz from WrestleMania 18, there's a lot of badass matches there with everybody combined,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, my God. I love talking about this stuff. Sorry.
No, you're cool. I'm a big wrestling fan too. Been watching for over 20 plus years. And like I said, I was the kid that went back and watched the Attitude Era because my mom and dad kind of strayed me away from wrestling. But of course, I know Hulk Hogan and I knew The Rock and I knew a lot of these superstars. But yeah, my mom and dad were like, no. And then I finally pestered my dad too much and he's like, all right. And then I got older and here we are now, So.
Yeah, look at you now.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing too. And I've always appreciated this because, I mean, when I look at wrestling, the matches are great. It's great to have great badass matches, but the story that goes into it, storytelling and the subtleties, intricacies, and nuances, it's the chef's kiss on top, man. Like the story going into it is amazing.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I used to love all the storylines that they would come up with as well. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I truly believed every single one. Like when they were going into the hospital with Vince McMahon and just the things that they were doing back then. I was like, you can't do this in real life, but they're doing it. How? Like
it's Stone Cold and Vince McMahon, the infamous bedpan.
Thank you. I'm glad you remembered the whole thing because I'm picturing it like it was yesterday, but I couldn't think of it the right way.
No, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, son. What? Going after Vince McMahon. What? With the bedpan, I'll take it from here, nurse. What? So yes, that was Stone Cold hitting Vince McMahon.
Oh, yes. I'm gonna have to watch that again now. I'm gonna visit it.
And it's so funny because I think as we were kids and we grow up, and there's always this one that sticks out because, you know, in today's day and age, you can't do a lot of that stuff. But I'm like, again, it's a story, people. Don't get easily offended by this, but it's like that infamous thing with like they show Carlito because he used to spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
Yes.
So the infamous interview is Carlito was being interviewed by Maria, aka Maria Kanellis. And his T-shirt at the time that he wore was a yellow T-shirt and the apple with the face on it, and it said "spit or swallow." And he goes, I don't know. Do you spit or do you swallow? And Carlito goes, well, Maria, let me ask you, do you spit or do you swallow? And everybody's like, oh, you can't get away with that now. And I'm like, well, it was 2006. It was a different time period than what we have.
Completely different. Oh my God. If my children were to watch something from back then, like if I tried to show them stuff from back then, and I feel like that was yesterday to me, but it was a long time ago. And my kids look at things and they're like, what? You guys talk like that? How? Don't even get me started.
No, I'm right there with you. It's like, I'll say this right now, John Cena's whole basic thugonomics run. You can't do a lot of what John Cena did in 03 and 04 than what we have now in 2023.
No, definitely not. But that's why you couldn't see him back then.
Yes, beautifully said, my friend. No, that's but that's how it is. And I think a lot of people don't realize, and again, we're in today's society, and I've said this, I think cancel culture is absolutely ridiculous because that's the society that we're in now. And it's mostly towards like the Gen Z route, not to like our realm, if you will. Mm-hmm. But here's my thing with that. Like, again, you watch something on TV to suspend your disbelief. Like, all right, Jersey Shore is what it is. You know, Jersey Shore, I mean, is there a lot of crap that's on there that's ridiculous? Yes, but it's popular. And also a lot of what you see on different television shows is not real. Like, you know, a lot of people can't suspend their disbelief with wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Because they see this and it's just like, no, just the art imitates life and sometimes how they make money. Like, for instance, Matt Hardy, Edge, and Lita. That was a real life thing. Lita was with Edge. Matt Hardy blasted it all over the internet before we had
I know. That was another heartbreaker for me because Matt and Lita were just so good together.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happened. And then, oh my God, with the whole Kane fiasco that happened after that, it was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I couldn't understand why the hell she would ever leave Matt to go through all that bullshit.
No, that was the thing too. Like at the time, like when Matt Hardy, I mean, again, folks, this is pre like social media. This was like MySpace. When Matt Hardy's like shooting the poster with like a gun and making all these videos. And I'm like, bruh, here's my thing with that. Like, and people have said this, like, if this happened today, because this was 2005 and we're in 2023, this would be like a Facebook beef or like something like a Twitter exchange. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Compared to what we had in 05 before like the internet was really advanced to what we have today, this would be like a social media beef now. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I don't mean to put it like that, folks, but it's true. Like before pre-internet.
It is like, and you know, when I don't know if you remember when Edge and Lita were like about to do it in the
A
middle of
live sex celebration, yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That probably just would have been like a live stream online nowadays. But
I don't mean to laugh, but that is so true because that's the norm that we have now. That's the norm from the.
exactly. Like
That's what we have now. Because again, well, it's so funny, and I'm glad you brought this up again for the technological standpoint. So WWE tried very briefly because the technology was advancing. We had MySpace, and then we're slowly kind of going towards more internet based. So they had a thing back in the day, folks, called WWE.com Unlimited. Do you remember WWE.com Unlimited, Molly?
I do.
Commercials. You could watch it during the commercials. When it would go to commercial on USA, you would turn to your computer and watch the match during commercials.
Exactly. Oh my god. I was on that website more often than I probably should have been.
Oh, you kidding me? Like every time after school, I'm right there with you. I used to go right to WWE.com.
I mean, I really immersed myself in the whole WWE universe. And I mean, it was a great escape as a child.
It was. And I mean, in today's day and age, I mean, what I also appreciate about combative sports, whether it be LFC with the MMA wrestling base driven and the entertainment value, I think it's great to see a lot of women, like you mentioned Trish and Lita, and we mentioned names like Jazz and Molly Holly that have really come so long. And I mean, Sable back in the day as well, and Jacqueline,
Yep.
but
China,
yes, they've revolutionized like a whole generation. It's great to see like women are main eventing WrestleMania, and women are main eventing pay-per-views. I mean, they talked about Saudi Arabia because WWE's going back there for Crown Jewel in 1 week's time. It's like you're seeing more women wrestling on these cards. Like it's nuts.
It's crazy. I mean, it's definitely great to see more and more women getting out there and doing this, and showing that they can do a man's sport without having any issues, and they can look good doing it too, whether you're in lingerie or you're in a full bodysuit or a ringlet, or what do they call sling?
Oh, the sling, the singlets.
Thank you. Yeah, that. Like, it's not all about sex appeal. It's about the actual sport too. But like for the LFC, it's kind of about all of that.
Yeah, it's all that in a bag of chips, a real deal sex appeal, if you will, folks. But that's that's the thing that makes it. And it's like, all right, and I'll say this, like a lot of the women nowadays would complain about the bra and panties matches back in the day. But I'm like, do you realize that if Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler weren't doing those bra and panties, and to see the change that we had over the years, we wouldn't have what we have now? You know what I'm saying? That was the genesis for what we have now.
Exactly. Oh my God. I remember playing the bra and panties matches on WWE video games on the PlayStation. Oh my God. I used to wreck that shit. I was on it and I was determined to get those motherfucking clothes off. I really was.
What she's referring to, folks, is if you really, I think they really started coming in one of my favorite games that I still play to this day. SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, then SmackDown versus Raw, and then the whole.
Yes!
Yep.
Oh my goodness, yes.
The whole series was good. Like I mean, the 2K games here, some of them are good now, but I'm gonna say right now, nothing beats the arcade style games of Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain, Just Bring It, SmackDown versus Raw, SmackDown versus Raw 06. And like you mentioned storylines, there were some buck wild storylines in there, but it was good. Like you were hooked like to every story mode. You wanted to play it.
You wanted to play it. You wanted to, oh my God, you were just so involved in the entire, it was everywhere. It was everything, and then honestly, like UFC kind of took over a lot of it and became really popular, I think, or maybe just I noticed it more as a teenager.
Oh, no, I realized that too. Like, I remember, so I was at WrestleMania 20 when Brock Lesnar and Goldberg had that infamous match where they both got booed because Goldberg was leaving WWE. Brock Lesnar was going to go try out for the Minnesota Vikings. And then he does not get him. It doesn't make the cut. Then he goes into wrestling in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Then he goes into UFC, him and Randy Couture, probably one of the he rose so fast in UFC, and then coming back to WWE in 2012. That's another one. I mean, people make fun of CM Punk, but I got to give the man credit for at least trying, because a lot of people don't go in there.
Hey, I mean, I'm going into this blind. So I feel like CM Punk sometimes, but I'm hopefully going to make it.
I think, to quote CM Punk's original theme song sung by Killswitch Engage, "This fire burns always." You got that fire burning in you.
I do have the fire burning in me, and I've had it since I was a very little girl, since I was about 4 years old, honestly. I used to wrestle with my best friend. I mean, we still talk about it to this day, how we dreamed about becoming wrestlers. And now the fact that I'm actually doing it, she's like, dude, how are you doing this? And honestly, I don't even know, but I'm doing it. And holy crap, it's great.
I could just imagine you as a kid just wrestling with your friends, and then in the background you got Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff just going on in the background, and just, mosh pitting. You know what I'm saying? Just
oh my God, yeah. Poor kids, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we still are to this day, but back then, yeah, it was, oh my God. And she lived in an upstairs apartment too, and we would be wrestling and just slamming each other on the floor, and just, we had mattresses out, and I would flipping her off of things, and she would be flipping me, and her brother would get involved, and like him and I would go at it, but we'd actually hurt each other because, again, we thought it was real.
Oh, it reminds me. So when I was a kid, I used to, like, as we all did, jump on our beds. So I remember when I first saw Shane McMahon do the elbow drop, that infamous elbow drop that he does from way up high on like a Tron or through the announce table. I used to coast from my bed to other and do like an elbow drop from like my parents' bed to my bed. Oh, I was nuts.
I think, honestly, all of us kids raised back then were a little nuts, and our parents just ignored it. So they didn't really notice mental health issues like they are today. So
I mean, we were insane clown possing up, and they're like, we're the jugglers in backyard wrestling. Yep.
Oh my God. You just remind me of like high school. Completely. ICP, backyard wrestling, backyard MMA matches. I was doing all of that stuff at 16 years old.
It's like that. Yeah, it's like that episode of True Life. I'm a pro, and it's like, I want to be a backyard wrestler, and you see all these. Okay, so you see the Cosmic Smasher wanting to do it for Baby Spice, and then there's You Suicide, who was the only one I think that made it. He wrestled for XPW for a short time, but I'm like, yeah, these are all these guys that are just like, yeah, I want to wrestle because WWF sucks and WCW sucks and ECW sucks, so we're going to put on our show in our backyard. What? And they thought they were cool, and then one got like a chipped tooth, and I think one mother called the other kid's mother. It got them grounded because they gigged themselves, and I'm like, yeah, nothing says hardcore like I'm going to call my mommy to ground me because I gig myself. Just like, excuse me while I blade myself.
Yeah, I'm not trying to drop any names here or anything.
Oh, it's okay.
But my husband.
I do.
So he's got some great wrestling videos actually on YouTube that are just like ones that you were talking about. And it's so funny to be able to look back at that and see, like, well, motherfucker, now I get to live your dream. Because clearly you wanted to do this more than me. Ha ha! Look at me now. Sorry, we're very competitive. So we always try to one-up each other. But it's always, in the most loving possible way. He's actually the one who trains me.
First of all, we'll give him a shout out because I also had him on the Mike with Mike series, and you should check out his comedy because if you're not, what the heck you doing? Shout out to Brian Morrow doing his thing, and much love because that's great. Like, he's training you, has that discipline, and now he's teaching you that discipline. I think that's wonderful. I think you're probably the first prospect that we've had that the husband has trained their significant other. I think this is the first. For the as longest time that I've done this for LFC, I think you're probably the first. I could be wrong, but in my calculation, yes.
It really is. I mean, you don't really hear about couples who beat the shit out of each other in a healthy manner and go home and kiss each other goodnight. Like, you don't really hear about that too much. But I can get all my anger out on him without actually doing anything against the law. How awesome is that? I can be a crazy bitch if I want to. And he can't say anything because I could just say we were training.
It's like suplex, powerbomb, pile driver before bed. Good night, honey. I see how it is.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, and then we can also use a lot of the moves for other things, but, you know.
I get it. I get it. Hey, man, I'm just going to put it bluntly like this. Spicy content is in, so I understand. All good.
I mean, that's how I got started, so.
No, you're cool. And I think that's what's the great part about it. And I'll put this from the adult side of things because a lot of the girls in LFC have done adult modeling and stuff like that. But they're great girls. They're very multifaceted. That's what I love about what we do as a whole here. But, you know, sometimes the spicy content, man, and just sometimes that really, you know, incorporated from the sexual side of things, from the relationship side of things, it works. You know what I'm saying? It works. It does. It makes for a healthy relationship.
It does. It definitely does. And I mean, we get our frustrations out on each other in so many different ways that I don't think we'll ever need couples therapy, honestly.
Well, I think that's good. And I'm going to say this with the utmost sincerity and respect to both of you. I truly wish you both nothing but love and happiness. And I can't wait to see where both of your journeys prosper, you know?
Thank you so much.
Right.
I'm so happy to be on today and that you waited so long for me.
Awesome. See, here's the thing, folks. I'm a patient man. Patience is a virtue. Sometimes you wait 30 minutes. Sometimes you wait for an hour. And then sometimes it's just like, you know, the day goes on. But the day has gone on with a badass podcast with this prospect over here and Molly Jane. So I'm glad that we got to do this. Patience is a virtue. And I got time.
Me too.
All right. One final question here, folks, because for those who, again, Twitter, anime, man, we just had Snow the Salt Queen on. Her and Farrah Fatherless just did a shoot for Jinx and Vi for their cosplay battle that we're going to see in a future LFC bout. They're going to get their own lingerie custom from Niche Boutique. Shout out to Brandy May and Kim for the cosplaying side of things. You over here, you got your anime vibes going. I mean, for me, you look at your Pokemons, your Digimons, your Yu-Gi-Ohs, you think of a lot of great cartoons and animes, Avatar, The Last Airbender, whatnot, the whole Nizine. So if you had to say about anime and really starting out looking at the world of anime and really seeing what it is, what's some of your favorite anime, man?
Okay, so it all started with My Hero Academia.
Okay.
And it all started because my husband would watch it every Saturday morning on his phone. And he was so obsessed with watching it. Like, he had to watch it 9 a.m. Saturday morning. If it was not on that weekend, they skipped a weekend, he was like depressed for the whole goddamn day. So I was like, what is so important about this goddamn cartoon? I did not understand that a cartoon and an anime were completely different.
Right.
And how you can connect with anime characters on such an emotional level. Like, I don't know how the storylines can get to you the way they do, but holy crap, they really like eat at you and you want to know more. That's the thing. He was watching the fight where Deku had to have Eri on his back to help him, and I forgot who he was fighting. He was fighting the villain that he cut off his arms. Sorry, I'm not good with names.
That's right.
But I remember watching it, and it was such an intense thing, just watching the connection between Deku and Eri and how they, like, she balanced him out. She saved him as he was being destroyed. Like, she refused to let him fall. And I was just like, I got stuck watching it, and I'm like, well, now I gotta watch next week. And now I gotta watch everything else. Because I started watching it in the middle of, like, the manga, pretty much.
But that's the thing too. What I love about it is you can be hooked in so many different ways. And again, we talk about storytelling. There's a lot of storytelling in anime. Like I was watching, like, because I was getting ready to do the show with Snow. Like I watched some Jinx and Vi like on Netflix from one of the anime shows, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty heavy of like sisters who are like best friends, and then they go off their separate ways, and then they get back together, and then she's fighting with another person. Like it's very storyline driven, and you don't realize like how deep it can cut you. But also at the same time, and I'll give a shout out to this wrestler. There's a wrestler out there, Academia, whose gimmick is very much based off of the what we just mentioned here with the cosplay and the thing with the anime. I'm like, Academia, man, and Academia, like it works, but also at the same time, a lot of people don't realize like how badass that anime is.
Oh my god, it really is amazing. And also just the whole storyline about My Hero is it's a true hero story. It's a struggle, honestly. You see the underdog go from being completely crushed and literally never being able to attain his dream, being told you will never be able to do that, and then still not giving up and actually attaining it. It's just and they're like teenagers. They're supposed to be teenagers. It's awesome. I mean, yeah, there's some creepy things and some weird things that like make people uncomfortable, like some of the relationships between the teachers and the kids. But we're not going to talk about that because, it's made in Japan and it's a different culture. So I don't know. I don't know why it just seemed a little bit creepier when it's translated or when they dub it in English.
No, okay. So obviously we're not going to talk about, but yes, we respect everybody's cultures. But I will say this. Okay, that's okay. No, it's like people with wrestling, and why I'm putting my hands up like this because you made a great point, and I'll tie this into wrestling. It's like people can't get into New Japan Pro Wrestling because they have that stigma of Japan. Like there's a lot of like comedy in DDT Pro Wrestling, not much New Japan, but DDT Pro Wrestling has a lot of like comedy that's very like in the States, like it wouldn't be comedic, but for like Japan, it's funny as hell, if that makes sense. But like a lot of people have their reserves about Japan and stuff. I'm like, if you really see the wrestling for what it is and the hard hitting, like the stories that they tell over there, it's a beautiful thing. So, I mean, again, anime is another thing, but again, the translation, everything into it, you get to learn about the cultures, but there's a lot of different stuff that you can analyze, dissect, and decipher from that. So, I mean, I'm right there with you. And it's funny that you mentioned the animes and stuff like that. So I don't know if you remember because you watched a lot of wrestling as well as I have. So in 2012, very shortly, like when the animes would come on, like cartoons as well in the morning, WWE used to have a show at like 10:30 in the morning called WWE Saturday Morning Slam. I don't know if you remember Saturday Morning Slam.
I do. I never watched it because at that point I was like, I don't have any interest in whatever they're going to say. Because I was so hurt over the changes they made.
Now, is it like because they went more into the PG direction? Was that it?
Honestly, probably. Yeah, okay. I think so. Because I was finally grown. In 2012, I had just turned 18. So I was ready for, the R stuff. Let's see the real fighting. Not, I really don't want this baby crap.
No, I get it, and I mean it was tough, but I mean it's like taking a resurgence now since Vince McMahon has gone out of power for what he did, and went on with Vince McMahon and everything. But it's interesting. It's a great time to be a fan of MMA, pro wrestling, all combative natures because there's a variety. There's something for everyone, and that's what makes this world very unique and very interesting and very topsy turvy at the same time. But I will say this. First of all, again, it's an absolute pleasure to be talking to you, giving you the platform to tell your story. And I'm going to put the overture out here, Miss Molly Jane. Anytime you want to come back on, you're more than welcome to. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, so did I. It was so much fun talking, and it was such a pleasure meeting you and tonight. And I hope to speak to you more.
Absolutely. Now, before we do close this out, folks, you, my friend, and we mentioned it a lot in your Twitter game on the social media front. Where can we follow you on the social media front on Twitter? Let us know your handle.
You can follow me at Molly Jane 6987. And I'm just going to put it out there that there could be some future matches in the works.
Okay.
So just be on the lookout for that. Maybe something could go international.
Hey, man, I'm just saying, get you on that cat fighting realm, wrestling realm. I'm going to put it like this. I'll put it bluntly. You're ready to scrap is what you're doing. You're ready to scrap. That's what it is.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm even ready to have my ass kicked, honestly. I just want to get out there and do it. I want to do it. Let's do it.
You're kind of like, the best way I could put this, with your scrap vine and you're ready. You were like the SpongeBob SquarePants of LFC. You're ready. You're ready. I'm ready. I'm
ready.
What I will do.
I'm ready.
I'm ready for me money. Okay, so go. Before we close this out, and your Twitter will be in the description here, ma'am. But we're going to do this, folks. We are going to put this here on the screen so y'all know what I'm talking about. Here we go. Oh, boy. There we are right there. We have Molly Jane. There she is. LFC prospect. Give LFCfights.com a look. Check it out on all forms of social media. LFC_fights. Fights_LFC and LFC Fights on TikTok. Check out this podcast on Roku and the VIP section of the LFC website. Check out LFC Exposed. Check out Tommy Bellart Sketchy and Funny. Check out Tight. Check out all the stuff that is on the LFC website, because why? It's awesome. And you can check out amazing prospects like Molly Jane. So before we close this out, Molly Jane, do you have any advice? And I always love this as well, because we're talking about pearls of wisdom here, folks. Do you have any advice to any young lady that wants to get into combative nature and really apply their craft in amazing fashion?
Don't let anybody stop you. You can do whatever you put your mind to. And if you think your body's not capable of it, it is. So just do it.
Beautifully and amazingly said. Adhere to those words said by LFC prospect Molly Jane. And as I always say to end each and every show, beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Molly Jane, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh.